Good day, everyone. I prepared this recording so you can follow along with our lecture at your own pace. So please take notes as we go through each slide and pause the video anytime you need more time to review. So let's begin with the nervous system. The nervous system is the animal's control center. That means it coordinates everything the body does, from sensing changes in the environment to deciding how to respond. Here we also introduce another technical term, which is ethology. This is the science of animal behavior or study of animal behavior. Ethology helps us understand not only how animals act, but also why they act that way. Now, when we talk about behavior, we mean the outward expression of how animals respond to their environment. So for example, here, if you touch something hot, your sensory nerves immediately send a signal to your spinal cord. Yan. And then the spinal cord then sends a quick message to your muscles, to pull your hand away. And that entire process is your nervous system at work, while the action of pulling your hand away is your behavior. You're pulling, the action of your hand pulling, the action which is pulling your hand away from the flame is your behavior. Here are other examples in farm animals. When a cow notices a shadow and becomes alert, its nervous system is warning it of possible danger. When a goat feels thirsty and goes to drink water, that's the nervous system telling it what to do. And when a chicken flaps its wings to escape a predator, the behavior, which is flapping of wings, the behavior is the outward result of a quick nervous system response. So behavior is really the visible side of what is happening inside the nervous system. But how exactly does the nervous system send these messages? Let's zoom in on its basic unit, which is the neuron. The neuron, or usually we call it the nerve cell, is the basic unit of the nervous system. So I'll just highlight here the main parts, although you see other parts. So the main parts, we have the dendrites, the cell body, and the axon. The dendrites are like tiny antennas. What they do is they receive signals from other cells. And the cell body is the control center of the neuron. That means it keeps the neuron alive, it keeps it functioning. And then the axon works like a cable. It carries or transfers signals to other cells and organs. So it carries signal away from the cell body to the next cell. So the dendrites receive signals toward the cell body. That's the difference between the dendrites and the axon. Once again, dendrites receive signals and sends the signals to the cell body. The axon transfers signals away from the cell body, going to the next cell or other cells and organs. Now, imagine billions of these neurons working together in your system. They form a communication network that is both fast and precise. So actually, it's even faster than the most powerful computers we know. For example, when a cow feels a fly, langaw, landing on its skin, the dendrites in its sensory neurons pick up the signal. The cell body processes it, and the axon carries the message toward the spinal cord, which will make the cow or quickly makes the body of the cow to quickly react on the fly landing on its skin. And there are three types of neuron. We have number one, sensory neurons. This is sensory neuron. We have a motor neuron and interneurons. Sensory, keyword natin sa sensory is they are the detectors. From the word sensory, they sense or detect changes inside and outside the body. For example, when a pig's snout touches the soil while rooting, sensory neurons detect the pressure. Next, motor neurons, they are movers. Here's a trick. M for motor, M for mover. Motor neurons send commands or move commands from the nervous system to the muscles. So yung example ko kanina, when the cow detected that there is a fly landing on its skin, it quickly reacted or responded. Another example, when a cow flicks its tail to drive away a fly, that movement, flicking of tail, is controlled by motor neurons, the movers. And then we have here interneurons. They are the connectors. So pag sinabi natin inter, meaning between. That means they link sensory and motor neurons inside the brain and spinal cord. For example, when a chicken sees a predator, sensory neurons detect the sight, interneurons in the brain process it, and then the motor neuron triggers the wings to flap. So together, the sensory, the motor neurons, and the interneurons, they form circuits that allow animals to sense, process, and respond to the environment via the motor neurons. So ito mga neurons natin, sensory, motor, and interneurons, are very important. Please do not forget that. So now that we've seen the basic wiring of the system, let's talk about the gateway that feeds information into the system, which is the sensory system. So what is the sensory system? It detects changes inside and outside the body. It works closely with sensory neurons. The input is sent to the brain and spinal cord for processing. And this system, sensory system, is the basis for many animal behaviors like feeding behavior, social interaction, and predator avoidance. And the main senses that we look at are vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. So let's go through each of these senses one by one, starting with vision. Vision is controlled by the eyes, of course, which detect light, color, and movement. So chickens actually have excellent color vision, even better than us humans. And this allows them to pick out grains on the ground. They even prefer yellow or orange colored feeds. They can recognize other chickens, especially those with bright red combs and wattles. They can also quickly notice sudden movements, which helps them detect predators. So their sharp vision is not just about feeding behavior, but it's also important for their survival when they need to escape from their predators. But of course, animals don't just rely on sight. Hearing is just as important, no? Especially for survival. Now, the ears detect sound and they also help with balance or what we call equilibrium. For examples, goats can twitch their ears toward the sound of the predator, and this quick response helps them survive in the wild. What else? Cattle also use hearing to stay connected in the herd. So when a calf calls or screams, the mother cow recognizes its voice and responds. Another example in pigs is pigs are very vocal animals also. And their sensitive hearing helps them distinguish between different piglet squeals, like they know when a piglet is hungry, feeling cold, or in distress. And for balance, think of horses, no? Running at full speed or jumping obstacles. They rely heavily on their inner ear to stay upright and coordinated. Okay. Now let's move on to smell, which is especially strong in many farm animals. The nose, of course, detects odors and pheromones. When we say pheromones, these are chemical signals that animals use to communicate. For example, boars smell sows that are in heat. Similarly, when rams can detect use when they are in silent heat. And so, keeping a ram in the flock is important because rams can detect cues in heat, even silent heat, through their pheromones. And this natural ability improves breeding efficiency and ensures higher conception rates, especially in flocks where heat detection by humans is difficult. So the sense of smell plays a major role in reproduction, of course, feeding behavior as well, and overall farm management. So after smell comes taste, which influences how animals choose their food. The tongue detects sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami or savory flavors. So for example, cattle cattle naturally prefer sweet tasting feeds such as molasses, corn, or certain grasses. That is why farmers often add molasses to rackages or grasses to improve palatability and encourage cattle to eat more. On the other hand, cattle usually avoid bitter tasting plants or grasses because bitterness is often associated with toxicity, so often signals toxins or harmful compounds, and this is nature's way of protecting them from poisoning. Another, pigs have a strong preference for sweet and umami flavors. That's why they enjoy feeds rich in carbohydrates and protein. Next, chickens have fewer taste buds than mammals but are sensitive to salt. That means a little bit of salt in their diet can improve palatability, but they cannot tolerate excess salt. Too much salt in their diet can lead to salt poisoning, which could cause diarrhea, dehydration, or even death. That's why we have to be very careful with the salt levels of feeds that we give in poultry diets or that we add in poultry diets. Goats are called browsers because they are very selective eaters. They use their sense of taste together with smell to avoid plants that might be toxic. For example, they often nibble first, taste test, and then decide whether to keep eating or move on to another plant. And this ability that they have helps them survive in environments with mixed vegetation. And sheep, on the other hand, they are less selective. They are called grazers. They tend to graze continuously close to the ground. They thrive in pasture systems where grasses are abundant. And horses have a strong preference to sweet flavors, which is why sweet treats like apples or carrots are commonly used in training them. We can also provide molasses-based feeds. These apples, carrots, apple molasses-based feeds are commonly used not just for nutrition, but also for behavioral conditioning or handling, training, and bonding. And that's why a horse is more cooperative when rewarded with something sweet that it enjoys. So finally, let's talk about touch, which is an important sense, also not just for survival, but also for bonding. And this is detected through the skin, whiskers. Yan. When we say whiskers, ganito ang itsura ng whiskers. Yan, yung parang sa pusa, dogs. And snout for pigs, muzzle for cattle. These organs that sense pain, pressure, and temperature. For example, farm animals lick their newborns as a way of bonding and also stimulating the young to move and breathe. For example, sow lick their piglets right after farrowing. Goats lick their kids to clean and warm them. Another, piglets squeal when they are handled roughly. That's their touch receptors detecting pain. And we also see this when piglets are caught or restrained and during farrowing when the sow experiences pain while giving birth. Other animals also show restlessness or vocalization during parturition because of pain signals detected through touch. Also, carabaos and pigs swallow in mud. Wallow. Yun. So, wallow, Wallow, in mud to cool their bodies, and their skin detects high temperature, triggering behavior to lower it through wallowing. Similarly, other animals seek shade or lie down when they feel hot. So the sense of touch is not only about protection, it is also essential for bonding, comfort, and of course, survival. Now that we've covered the different senses, vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, let's zoom back out and see how the nervous system is organized as a whole. Okay, so the nervous system is actually divided into two main parts: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, or the CNS, consists of the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, or PNS, consists all the nerves outside the central nervous system. So in this illustration, the red colored ones, the brain and the spinal cord, comprise the CNS, and the orange colored ones branching out, these are the nerves, they comprise the peripheral nervous system. Now, the peripheral nervous system, or the PNS, has two branches. We have the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. Somatic is for voluntary movements. Autonomic nervous system is for involuntary functions such as heartbeat and digestion. And the autonomic nervous system has two subdivisions also, sympathetic and parasympathetic. So the sympathetic branch is for fight or flight, and the parasympathetic branch is for rest and digest. And within the central nervous system, the brain plays a huge role. And let's break down the main regions of the brain. First is the cerebrum. The cerebrum handles learning, memory, voluntary movement, and the different senses of the body. For example, a dog learning to respond to its name, alam niya yon. Ikaw deciding to choose or to move toward the feed bank kung nagugutom siya. Okay. Next, cerebellum. Cerebellum coordinates balance and posture and movement. It ensures smooth and precise muscle activity. So that's the region of the brain for balance and movement. Ito, cerebrum is for cognitive learning, memory, voluntary movement, and thinking. Cerebellum, for example, is the horse galloping without stumbling, a chicken balancing on a perch. So the region of the brain responsible for balance is our cerebellum, meaning it coordinates movement, posture, and balance. Next, the third region is the brainstem. The brainstem controls vital involuntary functions such as breathing, heartbeat, digestion, and reflexes. For example, a calf continuing to breathe and digest milk even while asleep is or are typical examples of the functions of the brainstem. So, cerebrum is for voluntary movement, learning, memory, thinking, and senses. Cerebellum is for balance and movement. Brainstem is for involuntary functions. Now, what exactly are the main jobs of the nervous system? So let's summarize them in this slide. We have the sensory input, meaning detecting changes, integration, processing, which means pag sinabi nating sensory input, detecting changes. The nervous system is able to detect changes from the environment. Integration, that means the nervous system processes the information. Motor output, that means the nervous system responds with movement. And homeostasis, the nervous system keeps the body balanced. So we have here a diagram, and let's break this diagram down and connect it to the core, these four main functions of the nervous system. First, let's look at the eye here, labeled here as a sensory receptor. This represents the sensory input, the ability of the nervous system to detect changes in the environment like light, sound, or touch. So for example, if a cow sees movement through its eyes in the grass, its eyes send signals to the brain. Next, the signal travels to the brain, which is shown here. This is where integration happens. The brain processes the information. Once again, integration is processing information. The brain processes the information, interprets it, and decides what to do. So in our example, the cow's brain might interpret the movement as a predator. That comes the motor output, shown here as a muscle in the arm. Once the brain decides what to do, it sends commands. It sends commands to the what? To the muscles, through the nerves, through the motor nerves. So the cow might run away, or in another case, a chicken, for example, might flap its wings to escape danger. Okay, so with that, with all this, the brain receives the input from the sensory organ, which is the eye. The brain processes the information, and then the brain sends the command through the motor nerves, telling the muscles what to do. And then finally, of course, which is not in the picture, is homeostasis. Mm, Homeostasis is always happening on the background all the time. Once again, homeostasis is uh, means keeping the body balanced and stable. For example, the nervous system works with the rest of the body to keep heart rate, breathing, temperature within normal limits, even when the animal is stressed or moving around. So overall, the cycle is detect a change, process it, respond, and overall maintain balance. That's how the nervous system keeps the animals alive and functioning in a changing environment. Now that we've connected the diagram, this one, to the four main functions, let's see how these functions are organized in the central and peripheral nervous systems. The central nervous system, or CNS, is the body's main control center. This is consisting of the brain and the spinal cord, correct? The sensory neurons bring information in to the brain about what's happening inside the body, like heartbeat or digestion, and outside the body, so from the external environment, outside the body, like temperature or sound or touch. So the brain and the spinal cord or the central nervous system processes this information and sends the commands back out through the motor neurons. This one, motor neurons or the movers. Now, the autonomic nervous system controls autonomic functions. They are called autonomic functions because they happen on their own, such as breathing, digestion, without us having to consciously think about them or control them. While the somatic nervous system controls voluntary movements like walking, galloping, eating, pecking, and so on. So, for example, if a goat feels hungry, the central nervous system makes it move toward the feed, right? Or if or if a piglet feels cold, the CNS makes it shiver and moves closer to its doe for warmth. This whole loop keeps animals alive, no? Farm animals alive, balanced and able to respond to their environment. And what allows all of this to happen so quickly? No? Bakit kaya nangyayari so quickly? That is because of the property of excitability. Excitability is the ability of neurons to respond to stimuli and transmit information quickly. All of the functions depend on the property of excitability. All of the functions of the nervous system. So it allows animals to sense danger, make split-second decisions, and survive. But of course, let's talk about ethology or the science of animal behavior. Like I mentioned in the earlier slides, ethology is the science of animal behavior or study of animal behavior. It's not just about describing what animals do. It's about asking deeper questions like how do they act? Why do they act that way? And what does it mean for their survival, welfare, and productivity? So what does that mean? What do those actions mean for their survival, welfare, and productivity? Next, we discuss also the different types of behaviors in farm animals with feeding behavior. Like, for example, a hen is looking for grains or insects on the ground or pecking at the ground. What else? Social behavior as well. Hens establish pecking orders by interacting this way. And then we also have maternal behavior, reproductive behavior. There's also stress behavior. Misdirected pecking can be a sign of stress behavior. Like when hens peck at each other's feathers due to overcrowding or lack of enrichment. So by studying these types of behavior carefully, we As animal scientists can improve both welfare, that means making sure animals are comfortable and healthy, and productivity also, ensuring they grow and reproduce well. So ethology helps us make better housing designs, feeding systems, and management practices, all based on how animals naturally behave. Okay. Uh, so how do we study this behavior scientifically? To study animal behavior, we use two tools. Number one is ethogram. Ethogram is a list of all behaviors an animal can show. And time budget. Time budget is a record of how much time animals spend on each behavior. So for example, a cow's time budget might show 8 hours grazing, 6 hours ruminating, and the rest of its time resting or socializing. So these studies help us understand animal welfare and management. So that ends our discussion on the nervous system and ethology. We saw how the nervous system controls sensing, processing, and responding, and how ethology, the study of behavior, helps us understand why animals act the way they do. For us future animal scientists, remember, every flick of a tail, every peck, and every movement tells us something important about the animal's body and welfare. Thank you very much for listening.